And he's always the smallest person in his division. When you got Usyk fighting Tyson Fury,
Yep.
you know, Tyson Fury was the massive fighter over Usyk, and you know, the bigger guy didn't win.
Terence Crawford stirs controversy by claiming size won't matter against Canelo Alvarez, comparing their showdown to Usyk's domination of Tyson Fury.
I just think in this case, a lot of people is just going off of other people's opinion.
Terence Crawford just shook up the boxing world by comparing his upcoming fight with Canelo Alvarez to Alexander Usyk's stunning wins over Tyson Fury, a statement that has stirred major controversy among boxing fans and insiders. As confident as ever, Crawford dismissed concerns about size and power, insisting that being the bigger fighter doesn't automatically mean victory, with Canelo known as one of the most dangerous punchers in the sport today. Crawford's calm confidence has added another layer of intrigue and debate to a fight that was already being called one of the most significant matchups of this generation.
You know, it'll be everything that I worked hard for in my whole career coming out in that one moment, you know, that one night of boxing that everybody got to see the great Terence Crawford do something that was unheard of and unthinkable. And it would be stamped in the history books forever.
The clash between Canelo Alvarez and Terence Crawford is scheduled for September 12th at Allegiant Stadium in Las Vegas, where both men will fight for the undisputed super middleweight championship. The bout has already attracted global attention, not just because of the belts on the line, but because it pits two of the most accomplished and skilled fighters of the modern era against each other. But the biggest conversation leading into the fight is centered around Crawford's dramatic leap in weight class. Having last fought at 154 pounds, the undefeated American will now be stepping up to 168 pounds to face Canelo, a fighter known for his strength and devastating body shots.
Terence Crawford, Canelo.
Yeah, I believe Terence Crawford is going to be in top shape, and I believe he's good enough to outpoint Canelo. But I believe the power would be a challenge, if you will. So I'm gonna say Terence Crawford.
Terence Crawford?
Because I think Terence Crawford is the best boxer in the world.
However, Crawford remains completely unfazed by the size difference. He has drawn parallels between this fight and the historic Usyk versus Fury bouts from 2024, where Usyk, despite being much smaller, defeated Fury twice by decision. To Crawford, size is just one factor, and not necessarily a decisive one. In his eyes, skill and execution still reign supreme. He acknowledged that Canelo may be thicker or stronger physically, but maintained that his own height and abilities would create a fair balance. Crawford pointed out that each fighter has their own strengths, and that's exactly why fights like this are so exciting. They offer no clear outcome on paper.
A lot of people is just going off of other people's opinion. Oh, well,
I'm not even so sure Canelo will be the bigger guy.
he'd probably be thicker, but I'm taller.
Yeah.
You know, he have his strong points in the fight. I have mine.
Still, not everyone shares Crawford's optimistic view of how weight and size differences will play out in the ring. Former two-division world champion Danny Garcia expressed skepticism about Crawford's ability to carry his power into the 168-pound division. Garcia analyzed Crawford's previous performance against Israel Madrimov at 154 pounds and suggested that his punching power didn't quite have the same impact at that level. Moving up again to 168 would be an even tougher test, Garcia warned.
Crawford has been active, and he's been a champion his whole career. You know, that's something you got to give Crawford for. You got to give Crawford his flowers. He's really been a champion since 2012. You know, has never not been a champion. So he has the champion's mindset. He is going up to 168, so that's a steep hill to climb. You know, I mean, he has the tools, but I think Canelo's gonna. My personal opinion, I think Canelo's gonna be too much for him.
Garcia was also quick to say that if Crawford somehow manages to pull off a win against Canelo, it would be one of the greatest achievements in boxing history. Unifying 4 belts across 3 separate divisions would place Crawford among the all-time greats, possibly even in the top 3. But even with that potential glory in sight, Garcia stressed just how steep the climb will be. The real question, according to him, isn't just whether Crawford can outbox Canelo, but whether he can handle the physical punishment that will come his way once he starts taking punches from a naturally heavier and more powerful opponent.
Terence Crawford has had one fight above 147 pounds, and everyone, including Terence Crawford, will tell you that was not his finest performance against Israel Madrimov. He is older than Canelo. He is coming up in weight. He is coming off a long layoff. I can't look at Canelo Williams' school and say, you know what? Canelo is too far in a decline to beat Terence Crawford. Not until I've seen what Terence Crawford looks like at 168 pounds.
Yeah, same here. And even though we could see Canelo Alvarez diminishing, we're still going to favor him because he's been in there with the bigger, stronger men. Crawford's not going to be able to hurt him. Crawford will be able to pepper him up, win rounds. Like I tell you, I have an image of Canelo Alvarez after the fight. He's going to be bloodied and bruised because he's going to get pot-shotted. He's going to throw 2-3 punches, pepper him up, and then get an angle. Then once Canelo starts realizing I'm falling behind here or I'm getting hit too much, I got to do something great, that's when Crawford's going to have to get on his bike.
On the other hand, Canelo Alvarez has had his own share of criticism going into this fight. His recent performance against William Skull left many fans underwhelmed. While Canelo walked away with a clear, unanimous decision victory, the fight itself lacked the usual fireworks. Some observers have started to wonder if the Mexican superstar may be slowing down after years of battling at the highest level. But despite the talk, Canelo's record remains exceptional. With only 2 losses, against Floyd Mayweather and Dimitri Bivol, he has proven his ability to learn and evolve. Since those defeats, he's only improved, adding new tools to his already extensive skill set.
It is my biggest concern when it comes to Terence Crawford, when people, for some reason, keep mistakenly comparing him to Floyd Mayweather when it comes to being an elusive fighter. Terence Crawford and Boots Ennis has a similar approach to boxing. They are boxer punchers, and it's because Terence Crawford was too big and too strong to most of the opponents. He was too athletic too. Foot speed, hand speed, just too accurate. Physically, probably the best athlete in the boxing world. He does the same thing, which is why he's been dropped, which is why he's been brushed, which is why he gets hit a lot with consecutive punches. Saw him get Madrimov, saw him get David Lee. You saw the type of punches he was getting landed on from Showtime Sean Porter, right? Because he's used to bullying cats. And that's what I'm concerned about with him versus Canelo Alvarez.
As for Crawford, his undefeated record of 41 wins with 31 knockouts speaks for itself. Like Canelo, he has won titles in 4 divisions and has previously unified both the 140 and 147 pound weight classes. His dominance in the ring, particularly in his last fight against Errol Spence Jr., has earned him the reputation of being one of the most intelligent and adaptive fighters today. That win alone elevated his status among analysts and fans, with many calling it a masterclass in timing, movement, and ring generalship.
68, that's a big jump for Crawford, but I don't know. I mean, I feel like it could go similar to the fight how it just went with Skull, but with Crawford throwing a little bit more punches and then getting on his toes, boxing, and then he letting his hands go more. So he might be able to edge a decision out against Canelo, outbox him. So I feel like Canelo struggle with fighters that are good on their feet, and or there's a possibility that Canelo, walks him down, and Crawford doesn't really adapt to the weight and the power up at 68. So I guess we'll just see how it goes. But I know both of them are real great fighters, and I'm just excited to watch it.
One of those praising Crawford's skills is legendary boxing commentator Jim Lampley. Sharing his thoughts ahead of the Canelo-Crawford showdown, Lampley called the bout a true clash of titans. He likened Crawford to a modern-day Sugar Ray Robinson, citing his ability to shift between offense and defense seamlessly and his unmatched ring IQ. What stood out most to Lampley was Crawford's ability to channel an inner intensity, a sort of controlled aggression at any point in a fight to shift momentum in his favor.
You're not going to beat Canelo until somehow over a long period of time Canelo beats himself. If he gets tired of all the discipline he has had to employ to make all the money he's made, if he has enough giant ranches in the Yucatan, if he has enough beautiful horses, if he has had enough unforgettable dinners with Mexican billionaires in Mexico City and Vegas, then maybe. But my guess is he will retire without incurring another loss because it's important to him to do that.
However, Lampley also had high praise for Canelo, particularly his evolution since his loss to Mayweather. He applauded Canelo's enhanced counterpunching abilities, his remarkable chin, and his knack for neutralizing opponents' strengths. Lampley even went so far as to suggest that Canelo might not lose another fight for the rest of his career, possibly including the one against Crawford. Still, he didn't completely close the door on the idea of an upset, acknowledging that Crawford's intelligence and hunger could change the outcome on fight night.
You like him against Bud Crawford?
I do like him against Bud Crawford, but I do think that it's a great fight. Now, I could change my mind when we get closer. Bud Crawford, to me, is a latter-day Sugar Ray Robinson. He has the multiple skills of Sugar Ray Robinson. He can defend or attack. He has a deep inner mean streak that he can employ at any moment in a fight to get what he wants. Before the fight against, help me out here,
Madrimov was his last fight. Spence?
Spence.
Yes.
Before the fight against Errol Spence, there were quite a lot of people in the sport, in boxing media, who were saying, I like Spence to win the fight. I was one of those people who said, no way. Errol Spence doesn't have the depth and the intellectual understanding of prize fighting to beat Terence Crawford, who is the great professional of his era, along with Canelo Alvarez. That's why that's such a great fight.
Robert Garcia shared a strategic breakdown of how the bout might unfold. He believes Crawford will likely come out sharp, relying on his footwork and hand speed to outmaneuver Canelo in the early rounds. Garcia anticipates that Canelo, ever the patient technician, will focus on his trademark body shots and relentless pressure to break Crawford down as the fight progresses. While he doesn't dismiss Crawford's chances, Garcia envisions a scenario in which Canelo's power starts to tilt the fight in his favor by the later rounds.
Your skills, speed, try to fight on the outside, and he does have skills, man. He is a real talented fighter, so I think he's going to put up really good rounds, maybe at least 5 or 6 rounds. He's going to put up really good rounds. Eventually, I think later rounds, Canelo starts catching him, breaking him down, but I do see Crawford putting up. Crawford's, he's the man. He's pound for pound one of the best fighters in the world. He's very talented. I think he will put up a good fight.
You said Canelo maybe later in the rounds comes on, and puts pressure on him. But Canelo more recently, the later rounds, it's a little slower, maybe gives up a couple of them because he's already kind of won. That'd be kind of a different strategy, right? Can he still do that?
It has to, but he has to, because I think the first half, I think it'll be Crawford's fight. I might be wrong also, because Canelo's also very talented. Let's not take that away from him. He's very talented, but I do see Crawford maybe taking the first few rounds, the first half of the fight, and then Canelo forcing himself to pressure and try to dominate it that way, because knowing that he might be a little bit behind, he's going to be forced to do it. And he's got the strength, he's got the power, he's got the skills to do that too.
Jaron Boots Ennis initially viewed the matchup as an even contest, but has since shifted his stance in favor of Alvarez. Ennis pointed to the risk Crawford is taking by jumping straight into the super middleweight division without any prior bouts at that weight. In his opinion, that kind of leap is a major gamble, especially against someone as seasoned and explosive as Canelo. He highlighted Canelo's history of overpowering naturally larger opponents and questioned whether Crawford has ever faced someone with Alvarez's combination of physical strength and finishing power.
But I think you gotta lean more towards Canelo, because like I said before, he been putting big guys out and down, and Canelo not even really a 68 pounder. He probably really should be at 60 maybe, and he been hurting these guys. I think he be dropping these guys and things like that. So, and them guys be way bigger than him come fight night. I know that for sure. They be probably close to 200 pounds, and he dropping those guys like that. So I don't know. It's gonna be a great fight. The fans want to see it, so so be it. I think Crawford should take a warm-up fight, at 60, or at least at 60, just to get his body, to fill into somebody a little bit bigger, and things like that. I know when you go up a weight, you gotta, develop that power and not develop the power, but put that muscle on and be heavier and things like that. So he might not want to take a fight because he's trying to build up right now, but I think he should, just to stay sharp and that way he don't have a long layoff or anything like that.
Oscar De La Hoya, a former promoter of Canelo and a legend in his own right, centered his analysis on the weight gap. While he admitted that a victory for Crawford would elevate the Nebraskan into rarefied territory in boxing history, he found it difficult to believe that such an outcome was likely. He went so far as to suggest that Canelo could be pushing close to 200 pounds on fight night, a level of size and strength that Crawford, having never competed in this division, has yet to experience. Though he respected Crawford's courage, De La Hoya viewed this as a dangerous leap that could stretch even the limits of Crawford's immense talent.
A good little man has never beaten a good big man in the history of the game, unless you go back to certain situations with Pacquiao beat me, but I was a dead man walking anyway. But a good little man never beats a good big man, so it's a tough test for Crawford, but I'm not counting him out. The bottom line, this is the truth again.
Hall of Famer Bernard Hopkins brought a cautionary tone to the conversation. He praised Crawford's technical abilities, but also questioned whether taking on a fighter as powerful and experienced as Canelo was a wise career move. For Hopkins, the concern wasn't just about potentially losing, it was about what kind of toll a fight like this could take on Crawford's long-term health and boxing future.
Crawford cares about his life, and with that fight, what do that fight do for Canelo, fighting Crawford, and Crawford beats Canelo? What do that do for Canelo? I just think that there are so many other fights to make that's realistic, it makes sense, and less life risk.
Errol Spence Jr., who was on the receiving end of Crawford's dominant performance not long ago, acknowledged the boldness of the decision to move up in weight. While he didn't go so far as to predict an upset, Spence expressed admiration for Crawford's willingness to challenge himself at the highest level. He noted that if anyone had the mental toughness and skill to make such a dramatic jump and still succeed, it would be Crawford. Renowned trainer and commentator Teddy Atlas offered a philosophical perspective. He defended Crawford's earlier performance at junior middleweight, suggesting it was tougher than many realize. Atlas recalled the long tradition of smaller fighters outsmarting bigger opponents and highlighted Crawford's adaptability and fight IQ as his greatest assets. While acknowledging the uphill battle Crawford faces, Atlas remained intrigued by the possibility of a strategic upset driven more by brains than brawn.
He had trouble with a 154-pound guy when he went up from welterweight to that. So now he's going up to 168. Teddy, come on. How are you going to make an argument? You're going to make an argument to this, to the history of this sport, where little guys have been able to beat big guys, because you reverse it. You reverse who's got the advantage and the disadvantage. Yeah, the size, the power of Canelo, he's got the advantage. Then all of a sudden you go back and you say, wait a minute. The other guy's faster. The other guy's craftier. The other guy has more options. The other guy is slicker. Oh, well, maybe he's got the advantages. Like the first time Pacquiao fought De La Hoya. And I know De La Hoya was having trouble with weight and all that. I get it, and that's fair. But still, I remember I picked that one. Every once in a while I pick one right. I remember that I picked that one where Pacquiao's going to win. And I said, yeah, you're saying that De La Hoya's bigger, he's stronger. He's got the power edge, he's got this edge. But the other guy's quicker. And that's going to be an edge. And it was an edge. I'm not saying Canelo's not, but I think he's special in a different way, where he's got instincts that not everyone has. Yeah. It's the timing, it's the instinctual things, the X factors, the intangibles that he has. And I think they're going to show themselves. I really do. And I can't wait. Yeah. I can't wait. Yeah. I can't wait to see a smaller guy use those intangibles, use those X factors to beat a bigger guy.
Rolly Romero was far less optimistic. He predicted a violent ending for Crawford, suggesting the fight could mirror Canelo's devastating knockout of Amir Khan years ago. In Romero's view, size was a key factor in Canelo's loss to Dimitri Bivol, and in this case, it could be the very reason he wins. He foresees Crawford being overwhelmed by Canelo's aggression and finishing ability, ending the night in highlight reel fashion.
So, all the people who think Crawford would even have a single chance against Canelo, they're fucking stupid.
Broly, you have a way with words like nobody else.
No, bro. I hate it when people say that. They're fucking stupid.
Shakur Stevenson stood firm in Crawford's corner. While fully aware of Canelo's danger and the monumental challenge ahead, Stevenson placed his faith in Crawford's mental strength and adaptability. He believed Crawford's confidence, backed by his ability to make quick in-fight adjustments, gave him a legitimate chance to defy expectations and pull off a shock win.
I know you're going to back Terence all the way in that fight, but how big of a fight is that? How difficult of a challenge is it moving up in weight?
I think it's very difficult. Canelo got the IQ, he got the size, he got the power, maybe. It's a very difficult fight, but I think if anybody could get it done, it's Terence Crawford.
Boxing legend Roy Jones Jr. saw the pressure as being squarely on Canelo's shoulders. For Jones, the expectation is that Canelo should win. He didn't see the matchup as one where Crawford had to prove something. Rather, it's Canelo who must defend his status and dominance in the sport. That shift in pressure, in Jones's eyes, could be a factor if the fight becomes more difficult than expected.
Buddy Canelo? Huh? Buddy Canelo, who you got?
It's a tough fight. It's like I said, it's Canelo's fight to lose. If he fight the wrong fight, he's gonna lose.
Julio Cesar Chavez, one of Mexico's most iconic fighters, took a more dismissive stance. He didn't see the bout as a fair contest and leaned heavily toward Canelo. To Chavez, this wasn't a competitive challenge as much as it was a calculated business move by Crawford. He predicted a one-sided outcome ending in a knockout for Alvarez, firmly doubting Crawford's ability to survive, let alone win.
Bueno, es una pelea muy dispareja, la verdad. Crawford es un gran peleador, pero no tiene nada que hacer en ese peso. Con todo respeto, él va por el dinero y Canelo lo va a noquear.
The two fighters are going to be different weight classes, even though they're going to fight on a specific weight. He believes that they're just going because of the money. Crawford.
As the months count down to September, the boxing world continues to debate and anticipate every possible angle of this mega fight. For fans, the matchup promises a rare display of elite talent meeting under equal stakes, even if the physical stats seem uneven. Whether it's the speed and technical mastery of Crawford or the brute power and experience of Canelo, the bout will undoubtedly be a spectacle worthy of its billing. Adding to the excitement is the fact that both fighters represent different fighting philosophies. Canelo thrives in close range with precise crushing shots, while Crawford is a master of adapting mid-fight and outthinking his opponents. It's not just a fight of power versus skill, it's a battle of legacies. Whoever wins will add a monumental chapter to their already storied careers.